Okay, now we're going to be using proportions to find missing sides of shapes. Okay, so the key thing to pay attention to is if somebody tells you that shapes are similar, it means that just like if you were to take a photograph to Walmart or someplace to have it enlarged, and when you get it back, it keeps the same proportion of the photo, meaning your photo doesn't look like you have weird shapes to the faces. It keeps everything the same aspect ratio. Well, that's what similar means when we're talking about geometric shapes or shapes in general. That all we've done is we've enlarged it or reduced it, but it's the same proportional sides. So there's a couple different ways that you could do this. You could compare this whole thing to this whole thing. Okay, so let's do that first. The small side, so I'll put SS for small side, compares to the big side. I'll put big side. So we're comparing the small shape, so the small side to the big side of the small shape compares to the small side and the big side of the larger shape. So what is the small side of the larger shape? Yep, that's an X. And the big side of the shape, the big side is the 9. And we haven't labeled it. It could be 6 inches, 6 centimeters, 6 miles. So if something's not labeled, if sides aren't labeled, you could just label them units if you wanted. But for just solving a missing side, I'm not going to worry about the label right now. Normally you would label things though. Now you have two ratios set up as a proportion, so you're going to multiply using cross multiplying. So the 9 goes upper left, so 9 times 2. 6 goes to the upper right, so 6 times x. 9 times 2 is 18. 6 times x equals 6x. Remember, it's whatever's attached to the variable. 6 is attached by multiplication. The inverse operation is division, so we divide both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times x is x. 18 divided by 6 is 3. And let's check to see if that makes sense. 2 is to 6 as 3 is to 9. Well, we're going to cross multiply. 9 times 2 should mean the same thing as 3 times 6. 9 times 2 is 18. 3 times 6 is 18. Check. And that's how you check for proportion of similar shapes. Okay, now we've got two shapes, and I'm going to tell you right now that these two shapes are indeed similar. If you don't know that they're similar, there's not much that you can do. So on a test question or either in diagrams somehow, you need to be told that they're similar or you don't have enough information. So sometimes that will actually be your answer. There's not enough information. But I'm telling you that they're similar. So what you're going to pay attention to, and let me see if I can make this pretty easy. Let's see. You're first going to pay attention. You need to understand that you need to find that missing side. Well, it's in the top diagonal, so it's going to be compared to the 5 on the smaller shape. Now all you have to do, remember you only need two sides, so don't get confused by a bunch of information. And guess what? It doesn't matter which side you pick. Just make sure that you pick a side that has enough information. So if you pick the side right here, does it give us a value? It doesn't. So you're not going to pick this side. So you're either going to pick the side that's 16 units or the side that's 12 units. I'm going to go ahead and pick the side that's 16 units. So then we just go ahead and write it. Now again, we can compare the little shape to the bigger shape, or we compare the respective sides together. So we could do it like this. X is compared to the 5 as, notice we started, the bigger shape is in the numerator, so the bigger side must, on the other side must be the numerator. As 16 is 2/8. Let me say that again. This time, instead of comparing this whole thing to this whole thing, what we're doing is we're setting the ratios up, comparing the sides with different sides. So the top side of the big shape is compared to the top side of the small shape. The right side of the big shape is compared to the right side of the small shape. All right, now, again, you just use cross multiplying. So we have 8 times x is equal to 16 times 5. Well, 8 times x is 8x. 16 times 5 is 80. They're attached by multiplication. We divide both sides by 8. X equals 10. And let's see if that makes sense. Well, another way you can think about it, look at, here's 8, here's 16. Well, 8 times 16, 8 times 2 is 16. If we look at the bottom, 6 times 2 is 12. So 5 times 2 is 10. There you have it. That's all there is to finding missing sides of similar. This only works if shapes are similar. But you're done.